Loin des monastères et des montagnes, au cœur de nos villes et de notre siècle, certains êtres humains vivent pleinement la sagesse dont nous parlent toutes les traditions, en Orient comme en Occident. Qu'on l'appelle éveil, libération ou connaissance, la nature de cette sagesse n'a pas changé depuis des millénaires. Il s'agit de cette liberté radicale qui plonge définitivement un être humain dans l'absolu de la conscience. Tout chemin spirituel est le résultat d'une combinaison de circonstances, d'influences et d'actes dont la règle échappe en fait aux critères logiques habituels. Dans toutes les cultures et à toutes les époques, les ingrédients d'un enseignement spirituel authentique, quelle qu'en soit la forme, sont toujours les mêmes. L'expérience vécue par le maître se transmet directement aux disciples. Les anglo-saxons disent aussi teacher, c'est-à-dire enseignant, et student, c'est-à-dire étudiant. En Inde, le mot sanskrit qui désigne le maître est gourou. En fait, la relation maître et disciple résume à elle seule toute la profondeur et tout le mystère du chemin spirituel. Or de nos jours, la figure du maître spirituel, si souvent usurpée par quelques pseudo-gourous et vrais escrocs plus ou moins dangereux, n'a pas bonne presse. Et on limite trop souvent la spiritualité aux religions institutionnelles ou à la mode New Age. Lee Lozowick est un maître spirituel. Né aux États-Unis en 1943, il vit en Arizona où il dirige une communauté depuis 1975. Il voyage régulièrement en Europe et en Inde. L'enseignement que propose Mr. Lee, c'est ainsi qu'on l'appelle dans son entourage, se pratique sur la voie la plus exigeante et la plus abrupte qui soit, celle de la vie quotidienne. Avec lui, pas de code apparent, pas de temple, pas de liturgie. Mais attention, sous des apparences décontractées, le chemin qu'il nous montre n'a rien de facile. Bien au-delà de toutes les conventions, surtout en matière de recherche spirituelle, il nous invite à partager ce qu'il y a de plus sacré, de plus précieux au monde. En Inde, aller voir un saint s'appelle recevoir son darshan, car être en présence d'un sage est en soi un enseignement, une nourriture pour l'âme. Je ne suis pas un disciple de Mr. Lee, mais chaque instant des 3 semaines de voyage en sa présence était pour moi à la fois une bénédiction et une leçon de sagesse. Mr. Lee a été découvert par le public français grâce au livre de Gilles Farcé, L'homme se lève à l'ouest. Auteur et traducteur de plusieurs ouvrages qui font référence pour beaucoup de chercheurs spirituels, élève d'Arnaud Desjardins, Gilles Farcé accompagne, accueille et traduit Mr. Lee dans ses voyages en France. Depuis des millénaires, depuis Bouddha ou Socrate, la transmission de la sagesse est un dialogue, un échange. C'est grâce aux questions posées, à la sincérité et à la profondeur de la demande, qu'un enseignement peut se formuler, s'extérioriser, se transmettre. Au cours de ces échanges, le vrai chercheur peut trouver une réponse à ses vrais besoins, au-delà parfois de ses attentes les plus explicites. Mr. Lee a rencontré des groupes restreints lors d'entretiens intimes, où la caméra n'est pas la bienvenue, ou des groupes plus importants lors de réunions rassemblant de quelques dizaines à quelques centaines de personnes.
Now there are 3 assumptions that I bring into every teaching situation. The first assumption is that if you are going to fully appreciate what it is that a spiritual path is, you need a teacher. Now you might also need a therapist, but a therapist is not a spiritual teacher. And if you need a therapist, there's nothing wrong with engaging in a therapeutic process. In fact, any teacher with any sense of perspective will actually recommend that to you. But your therapist should not be your spiritual teacher. So it's sort of like if you wanted to learn a very sophisticated, complex task, not just like playing a musical instrument or, you know, or anything like that, because you can learn to play a musical instrument without a teacher if you have a good ear and you're fairly capable. So we as human beings are tremendously complex organisms, even organic, even at the grossest level of physicality, and that doesn't even include our subtle bodies, our astral body, our ethereal body, our auric body, all of the subtle bodies. To try and wade your way through that massive complexity without help, without guidance, is, at best useless, and at worst very dangerous. And so many opportunities to believe that you've realized something that you actually haven't, that without a teacher you're just wandering in the wild. The second assumption is that that I'm not interested particularly in collecting students, but I am interested in helping people that either already have a teacher or don't, to either find a teacher or to be able to be a better student to their teacher. And the third assumption is that everybody in this room, in one way or another, is missing some like piece of some piece of perception that would enable you to approach your spiritual work with deeper clarity.
Tout enseignement spirituel authentique s'inscrit dans une lignée, c'est-à-dire dans la chaîne ininterrompue des maîtres et des disciples qui se transmettent directement, d'être à être, au-delà de tout texte écrit, l'essence même de la réalisation. Mr. Lee appartient à la tradition dévotionnelle des Bauls, chanteurs mendiants apparus dans l'Inde du Sud à la fin du XIVe siècle. Poète, musicien, danseur, il cultive au plus haut point la langueur de l'homme du cœur, du bien-aimé, c'est-à-dire de Dieu.
It's nice. Very short, very short.
Pour les Bauls, Dieu n'existe pas dans le ciel, mais dans le corps de chaque être humain. Et il parle de lui comme de cet oiseau inconnu qui vole dans la cage du corps. Mr. Lee est un Baul occidental et il a créé un groupe de musiciens appelé Liars, Gods and Beggars, c'est-à-dire menteurs, dieux et mendiants. Philippe Coupet avait invité Mr. Lee à la Gendronnière, le dojo zen créé en France par Maître Deshimaru.
Je voudrais vous présenter Monsieur Lee, qui est de la branche Bauls. C'est un des chanteurs mystiques de l'Inde, c'est-à-dire le spirituel et la musique ensemble. Il est venu nous visiter et il partira plus tard ce soir.
The Bauls use music as the form in which they encode their teaching. So they don't have written scriptures. They write tantric poetry, and then the poetry combined with the music and the dance choreography is what communicates the teaching.
Disons qu'en plus de la pratique de la méditation, d'après ce que je comprends, il y a aussi l'enseignement par la musique et par la danse.
Oui.
C'est super.
Quel genre de musique? What kind of music?
Rock and roll. Western Baul music.
Western.
Le rock'n'roll, qui pour lui est une forme de
musique Bauls adaptée à l'ouest, à l'Occident.
Ayant passé beaucoup de temps sur les routes de l'Inde, Yvan Amar, écrivain et éditeur, partage sans relâche sa très profonde compréhension du chemin. C'est Yvan qui donna un jour à Gilles un livre signé par un certain Lee Lozowick. Sa maison de Gordes est un lieu de rencontre et l'on y entend beaucoup d'histoires de maîtres et de disciples.
Swamiji did a thing that sometimes traditional saints do in India. His master, who lived 300 years ago, his name was Baba Bumansha. He wrote a book under the name of Baba Bumansha, with a few aphorisms. And this is a custom in India that sometimes, even though your master is dead, you write something and you put it under his name. So this they would not understand here in the West, you know.
Avec Mr. Lee, Yvan réunissait deux autres maîtres spirituels, Andrew Cohen et Arnaud Desjardins.
C'est spontané, David. C'est un mouvement.
Voilà.
L'individu qui s'approche d'un maître ne peut en fait comprendre qui il a véritablement en face de lui, ni quelles influences sont à l'œuvre. Mais à une époque où fleurissent les faux semblants et les caricatures, comment savoir si un maître est authentique?
I suppose that one is more likely to be able to discover that through observing the master's disciples than from observing the master, because anybody can read a book on how a master is supposed to act and act like one and fool lots of people, but only a real master can demonstrate in the lives of students genuine transformation. So in a false master, the students will all look like a bunch of raving idiots. With a genuine master, of course, there will be a few raving idiots in the school, but there will also be students of extraordinary maturity, wisdom, depth, being, presence, not with a false teacher. And wisdom, maturity, depth, vibrancy, all of those things is not a matter of bouncing around half-dressed, inviting everybody to an orgy. So there are enough of those schools around. I wouldn't suggest that any of them were run by genuine masters. So, and be patient, observe the students, talk to them. You don't have to rush into anything. If you meet a teacher and the teacher says, well, I know you'd like to take your time, but I'm closing the school next week and you've got to make a commitment today, I would be suspicious. Although often a genuine teacher will push a prospective student into clarifying their own desire to have a teacher. So I like it when there's feedback. I sort of feel like, the Jimi Hendrix of spiritual speakers. But always, I've never felt that I've had a personal choice in what happens. I mean, like in meeting my master and in first coming to Europe and anything like that, in a decision to actually move here, all of those things are, they're things that the universe makes obvious, but I have no choice in the matter. So it seems to me that when someone becomes a spiritual master, they don't just, make a decision because they feel they can do a good job. They're drawn into it often, often in ways that they would never be drawn into if they had to make a choice about it. If you ahead of time you knew that you would die for your students, you would never want to do anything like that. So you start slowly, and then by the time you're into it, and that's that. When I met my master, I'd already been, when I first met him, I'd already been teaching 6 months, and when I returned to visit him a second time, I'd been teaching 3 years, and when I decided that he was my master, I'd been teaching 4 years. 5 years already. I had a very, devoted group of students, and at the same time, even that decision to be a disciple was something that, it appeared that I decided that he was my master, but really that was also given. So there appears to be a moment when you say, I want this. But even that decision, appeared to be my decision, but it came from someplace way beyond. I mean, it was, that decision was part of a whole program that was bigger than all of it. a big part of the spiritual master's job is waiting.
Waiting for players?
Waiting for many things.
Comment être un bon disciple?
Obedience, but not blind obedience, intelligent obedience, raging sense of humor, but one that can laugh at yourself as well as at anything else. A willingness to work hard, but not too hard, not so hard that you damage yourself. And a willingness to sacrifice your personal preferences and comforts for the good of the larger body of students. And if you can manage all of those, you'll be doing fine. And I could add a couple of other things. I suppose adoring the teacher in a way that no one else could ever even, come close to the teacher in your heart and your eyes. So in my tradition, it's a tradition called Bhakti tradition in India, which means love. So if you're not in a Bhakti tradition and you talk about adoration, teachers like, they leap back and, So in a non-Bhakti tradition, adoration could be replaced by trust or faith in the teacher. That'll do it.
When he says you must take two of them, he says you're right. You must take two of them because everybody wants to know.
This is what I like. A crowd, action, noise, excitement, enthusiasm. People are ready to go. In fact, there's a book on the back table called Facets of the Diamond. And in that book are pictures of my teacher, but also photos of Arnaud Desjardins' teacher and Yvonne Amar's teacher and other teachers. And next to the pictures are sayings of each of the teachers. And there's also a couple pictures of me in there. I mean, arrogant I am, but I'm not stupid enough to put my picture in a book with 8 amazing Indian spiritual masters and pretend that there was some equality there. So for years, Yogi Ramsarat Kumar has been referring to me as an Indian spiritual master. So I asked him if I could do this book because I would never do it without his permission. And I wanted to do a book on him and other teachers to introduce him more widely. And he said, if Lee is not in the book, there's no reason to put me in the book. So if I was an editor of a magazine that reviewed spiritual books, and I got a beautiful book with incredible photographs and amazing, wise sayings, with 8 brilliant, incredible Indian masters and 1 Westerner, who also happened to run the publishing company that put the book out. I would never review that book. And if I did, I would refer to the Westerner in the most critical, demeaning term, as a complete egotist, to presume to present himself in the company of these exalted beings. So the person comes back, from the phone call and says, we're in the office, there's about 10 people standing around. I say, what did he say? The person says, he said, if you're not in it, you might as well forget it. So I thought for about half a second, and I said, okay, I'll be in it, because it's important enough for me to introduce my master to the West. No matter how stupid I look, it doesn't make any difference. I always sign the dedication with Jai Guru. So the Bauls say Jai Guru, which means victories of the Guru. They say it as a greeting, and when you enter and meet someone, when you leave the space and you're saying goodbye. And so every time you say Jai Guru, it's reinforcing your commitment to allowing the Guru to enter into your life and fill your life with grace or with benediction, which ultimately will completely transcend the grip the ego has on you. And my wish, when I found my own guru, that was my wish. I wanted him to have complete victory. Didn't even want to win one battle. If you can get to Woodville, how long do you want to stay? While we're there? This is who it all belongs to. Everything's his. This whole thing is all Steve. How are you?
Oh, il y a Jean.
Mystery. Frederick wanted to ask you something. He said last year he asked you about God, and you told him that God was like a big diamond and that we were all facets of this diamond. Now he wants to know about Jesus. What has Jesus got? That is more than us. And what could you say about the nature of Jesus? That's his question. Donc j'ai posé la question. Jésus.
Well, Jesus is just somebody that knows he's a facet of the diamond.
Jésus, c'est simplement quelqu'un qui sait qu'il est une facette du diamant, qu'on a pleinement conscience.
Other people don't know that.
Et les autres gens ne savent pas qu'ils sont des facettes de ce diamant.
Just that simple.
Mais Jésus, lui, le sait, c'est très, très simple.
Sur la route et nous sommes fatigués, oui, fatigués. Je suis très fatigué. Oh oui, je suis fatigué. Oh, je suis fatigué mais heureux. Fatigué, oui, mais très heureux. complètement cuit.
Quand le travail spirituel devient sérieux, il apparaît qu'aucun instant ne doit être perdu, c'est-à-dire consacré à des pensées inutiles. Mr. Lee choisit ceux de ses élèves qui l'accompagnent en voyage et il leur demande de prendre des notes comme un exercice de vigilance, d'observation et de concentration.
Focus should be the instant, like we were riding on the train and, you know, Lee looked at so-and-so or said this to so-and-so, and then a real, like, full description of like that, the mood, the feeling, and then, you know, secondarily, I mean, as an afterthought, your response to it, how it made you feel, what it made you think about. Otherwise, it's all about you, which again, if you're writing an autobiography, it's fantastic, but too much of like your experience of it instead of the experience, and as an afterthought, your experience of the experience.
Okay.
The job of spiritual practice is to get to the point where we simply are who we are, not who we've been, what's been constructed over who we are.
Et le travail de la pratique spirituelle, c'est de devenir véritablement celui que nous sommes, pas celui que nous pensons être ou cette pseudo-personnalité que nous avons construite.
Almost everybody knows what it is in their lives that is either handicaps them or is destructive.
Je pense que toute personne sait, presque toute personne sait, ce qui dans sa vie l'handicape ou le détruit.
And by destructive, I mean that which keeps you from liberation.
Et par destructeur, j'entends ce qui vous empêche d'être libéré,
Or keeps you from transformation.
ce qui vous empêche de vous transformer.
And most people are completely unwilling
Et la
to
plupart des
simply
gens,
stop that behavior.
la plupart des gens n'ont absolument pas l'intention de cesser ce comportement.
They sit in, you know, cafes, drinking shit, eating shit, you know, feeling like crap, you know, right there in that moment, and they won't stop.
La plupart des gens sont là à s'asseoir dans les cafés, à bouffer de la merde, à boire de la merde, à se sentir eux-mêmes comme de la merde, et ils n'ont absolument pas l'intention d'arrêter ce genre de comportement.
Or in your relationship, you know, like closing off to your mate or your friends or whatever it is, and you simply won't stop.
Par exemple, dans vos relations, vous vous fermez vis-à-vis de votre partenaire, de vos amis, etc. Et vous n'avez pas du tout envie d'arrêter de vous fermer.
And if you won't stop what keeps you from what it is that you intellectually, you know, aspire to, which is realization or awakening or whatever you call it.
Et si vous n'arrêtez pas de vous complaire dans ce qui vous empêche d'accéder à ce que intellectuellement vous prétendez désirer, que ce soit la libération, la réalisation ou ce que vous voudrez,
You will either force yourself to become more and more frustrated and depressed,
soit vous allez vous forcer à devenir de plus en plus frustré et dépressif,
or more and more intellectually articulate about that which it is, that which you aim for, which you will assume, your intellectual articulation, which you will assume is the thing itself.
soit vous allez devenir de plus en plus habile intellectuellement pour exprimer et débattre de cette chose que vous prétendez chercher, jusqu'au point où vous allez confondre votre capacité à en parler avec la chose elle-même.
Mr. Lee fait souvent référence à Gurdjieff, un maître spirituel qui s'est installé en France dans les années 20 et dont le rayonnement ne s'est pas démenti depuis sa disparition en 1949. Ayant transmis une connaissance qui reflète l'unité fondamentale des voies spirituelles, Gurdjieff a profondément marqué plusieurs générations de chercheurs. C'est lui qui parla le premier au XXe siècle en Occident de la possibilité d'accomplir un authentique travail spirituel intégré dans le monde moderne. Michel de Salzman est l'un des continuateurs de l'enseignement de Gurdjieff aujourd'hui.
Very striking in this book, it's different testimonies about Mr. Gurdjieff and the world.
Yeah, okay. Are you satisfied?
Yes. Just
to check if you are agreeing or not.
So we'll call you on the second.
And yes, and then if I come to the States, maybe we can meet from there.
Yes. My view of things involves a long-term involvement in an ongoing evolving process that builds various elements of human, consciousness that eventually end up creating a circumstance of consciousness that might be called somewhat, wise or awakened. So, my teaching work and my school is built on the basis of long-term involvement and gradual appreciation of human maturity. On the other hand, I don't believe in gradual enlightenment. So in the East, there's two kind of belief systems: sudden enlightenment and gradual enlightenment. And my experience, my personal experience, but my observational experience is that there's no such thing as gradual enlightenment. But after the instant of sudden enlightenment, there is a gradual growth of maturity from baby enlightenment to, wise enlightenment. So, and I in all the teachers I've watched, as I've watched their careers progress, this has been my observational. Of course, a teacher that's not a real teacher stays the same always. Now, it's not that the state of consciousness changes, because the state of consciousness can't change. The definition of enlightenment, consciousness-wise, is that it can't get deeper, it can't get bigger. It is what it is, and it can never be more than it is or less than it is. Light. Traveling light from here on in. I don't know how some men wear their mustaches over their lips. Well, it really annoys me. Even a couple little hairs. Get stuck over my lip. very annoying. Are they about even? Both sides? Can't tell. Also, you know, there are two different kinds of realization and teaching, I think, and there's pure non-dualism in which no matter what the relative state of reality, it's completely denied. So, you know, everything is illusion except maybe the self, or except, you know, that which is real. And that's not the way I teach. So the way I teach is to assume that the relative world is also a part of reality, and therefore in communicating the nature of reality, that communication must necessarily take into consideration that which is real in the relative world. So, you know, we were talking about bridge, and Alain plays bridge very well. And he said he wouldn't play with me because when he learned bridge, his bridge teacher told him that one controls the cards based on one's power of mind. And he said so he could never beat his teacher because his teacher always controlled the game. But that shows a classic error in understanding the spiritual master, because I don't use my mind to control reality the way I would like it to turn out. So when I play bridge, I lose as much as I win because I don't, I simply allow the circumstances and the cards to like whatever they are, they are. You know, there's certainly some skill in responding to what the cards give you, but that's different than making the cards be what you want them to be. So once you see what is, then how you respond to what is, can vary from being very crude and immature to very subtle and very sophisticated. But what is what is. So.
Invité chez lui par Arnaud Desjardins, Mr. Lee animait une semaine de rencontres à Hauteville, dans l'Ardèche.
Là, chocolat. Mint. Strong, yes.
Yes.
Very mysterious. That culture. It's kind of very secret. Culture. Seems like a few books that have come out.
Après avoir longtemps sillonné les chemins de la sagesse en Orient, Arnaud Desjardins est très largement reconnu comme un authentique sage dans le siècle. Ancien réalisateur à l'ORTF, il est l'auteur de films et de livres essentiels en matière de spiritualité. C'est grâce à l'enseignement d'Arnaud Desjardins que le chemin spirituel a pris un sens pour moi.
The thing about a relationship with God is that God is unknowable. Well, that's not exactly true. God is knowable but undefinable. So a lot of what experientially transpires in the process of becoming, of entering into a state of consciousness that we could call awake instead of the ordinary state of consciousness which we could call sleep, is that you won't know what's going on.
Why do you make me feel so